Good deal. So first of all, for legal purposes, am I allowed to use this footage for my documentaries for any purposes?
Of course, of course.
Okay, good deal. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Hello, today I'm with
Jared, aka Lord.
Nice to meet you, Jared. And where are you from?
I'm from Arkansas, originally.
What brings you to Berlin?
I've been traveling for about 2 weeks now. This is my 5th country in Europe to hit on this trip.
We live in a time when division feels inescapable. Headlines stoke fear, leaders trade in anger, and while government officials and media narratives often deepen distrust, ordinary citizens are asking a different question. How can we stay connected?
Here I am in Amsterdam with
Bram Remmelswaal.
Marlene. Monika.
Live.
Katja.
Sandro Franke.
Thorsten Tansky.
Division isn't new, but today it feels sharper. Online and offline, between neighbors and nations, lines are being drawn and walls are being built. As a teenager, it is easy to feel powerless combating animosity and division in society. And while I'm not the president, I still know I can make a difference. And so can you. So, this summer, I went to parts of Europe to interview individuals from a wide spectrum of backgrounds, beliefs, and perspectives on their opinions on what is dividing us and what the causes and effects are, on what the solution is, and how ordinary citizens can implement it.
What are some divisions you see within your country and also within other countries, international conflicts and divisions?
Wow, that's quite a question. I think it does not help if we don't communicate with each other anymore and interact with each other. Because if you don't listen to each other anymore, you're bound to get more away from each other, and that's the starting of maybe a conflict.
And this response was
as you
at
said,
large
communication
in
is
cohesion
key.
with
But
the
what
other
would you
responses.
Das ist die Aufhetze. Du hast die andere. Muss ich?
Verschiedene
Wichtigste ist, dass man nett und Respekt hat.
Causing it to be more difficult to express empathy.
So find our place in global.
Agree to disagree.
I think a lack of empathy is the most dividing factor in modern society.
Or not getting to know one another. It's a false narrative that is spread throughout media, social media. I do know that, the government tries to pretty much divide us as one.
And while this may seem like a wide array of answers, they are very closely related. They are the causes and effects that create the perpetual cycle of division. Now, in our examination of division, let's first start with some root causes, beginning with human psychology. For our intents and purposes, there are two primary pillars of human psychology that must be understood when dealing with the human predisposition for divisive attitude and behavior. These can be explained by multiple studies conducted by the National Library of Medicine. They claim that humans have a negativity bias. And while this served as a survival trait, because humans would latch onto the most negative information and prepare for the worst, today it is causing a lot of negative side effects. And in a second, we'll discuss how media and social media use this character trait to ultimately breed division. However, first, we must understand the other pillar of human psychology, and that is the echo chamber.
Why do you think people tend to not communicate as much today?
Well, I think it's more that everybody stays in his own circle, with their own ideas, and it's getting more within that specific group that they only interact, and all the other opinions and ideas are, or not only neglected, but also looked upon in a negative way.
Like Bram said, humans are inclined to wanting to hear like-minded, affirming information. It feels safer to have your values, opinions, and beliefs affirmed, not questioned. Alright, now since we've looked at the two pillars of human psychology, let's look at some things that inflame and catalyze more division. This brings us to our second point, social media and media in general. Let's talk about social media creating unhealthy echo chambers.
Why do you think our society is lacking in empathy? Why it doesn't have as much empathy?
I think because things like social media and just modern society bring people to think things that they probably wouldn't think otherwise, or maybe just see things in one and only one way.
Social media isn't very helpful at the moment either, because other opinions should be implanted. And if you only hear one side, and this is about psychology again, if you only hear one side every day, then you will eventually believe it.
Sie suchen sich immer nur diese
They always look for a news channel or news channels that confirm their opinion. And while almost every single individual discussed echo chambers as a result of social media, Brahm dives in even deeper.
Actually, it's kind of a rabbit hole. If you start, to follow or have this one opinion, and you look on the internet for this specific information, the algorithms make sure, because they generate money, right, for the company they're from, they generate money to get you all information about this specific topic. And nowadays, because it's so selective on the internet, you only get the information that you want, and basically blacking out all the other opinions and views, and that's not helping.
Social media will typically present you with content and groups of individuals who agree on your beliefs and views. And while this is undoubtedly a good thing in many cases, algorithms can quickly create communities based upon negativity biases. In other words, they will create communities or echo chambers and unite these individuals based upon what enrages them the most. This leads to a type of polarization explained by Torsten.
What really concerns me currently is the role of media, because media is kind of hyping our societies, and that's not true only for the pretty much bipartisan media in the US. That's certainly true for public. And whenever there's a story that's looking into the cleavages between or a separation in societies and international relations in total, and they're making the money with it basically, and hyping these differences in opinions, then you create the separation within societies, between societies, and that's really a problem.
To summarize, let's hear from Jonathan Haidt. Jonathan Haidt is an American social psychologist and author. He is the Thomas Cooley Professor of the Ethical Leadership at the New York University Stern School of Business. His main areas of study are in the psychology of morality and moral emotions. In a PBS segment, Jonathan Haidt claims that social media takes pre-existing divisions, gives them a platform, and catalyzes conflict. He goes so far as to say that our democracy may be in danger. To contextualize this argument, he goes to life before the advent of media and social media. He actually goes back to the Founding Fathers era. And when one looks at the essays written by them, although they knew division and tensions would exist, they believed that with such a large country the size of America, by the time news reached the other side, passions would have cooled down. Jonathan explains how information now, quote, goes through an almost Darwinian evolution set. The most outrageous versions of the story are the ones that are spread, and so the Founding Fathers' fears about democracy are all coming true, and the mechanisms they devised to cool things off, to give us more time to reflect, to use reason a bit more, those are being bowled over by the passions and powers and mob mentality of social media. Jonathan Haidt. In summary, and not to generalize, social media will often create echo chambers based upon one's negativity biases, and inflame them with content that has been evolved to be only the most divisive and outraging that can breed disunity.
The country as a whole still has room to come together, find common ground, but the factor working against that is that politicians often have an incentive to divide people.
In this PBS series, America at a Crossroads by Judy Woodruff, Professor Lewandowski, a political scientist at UPenn, talks about the government's divisive role in society.
Venezuela is releasing thousands of people, criminals, gang members, drug dealers, the worst.
they are trying to control women's bodies quite explicitly. And
so if you look at studies about the kinds of people that run for Congress, they're increasingly being drawn from people who are more on the extremes rather than the middle.
He explains how it is hard to be centrist in polarizing politics. Unfortunately, it's easier to rally people with division than unity.
Well, I think through our elections and how that's coming, who are the people that are emerging as leaders is concerning, because they are tending to, make popular these very traditional, one-sided views of, we're better and they're not, and we need to keep ours and we need to push, and it's not about that. And I think
And obviously, this is not particular to one political party or even one government.
It has changed, but I see that all across the board. So in the Netherlands as well, we're looking at foreigners in general. I mean, from us looking to our neighbors, neighboring countries, or people further away on the globe. We tend to basically reflect or display our problems on them. We say it's dangerous to have more foreigners come to our country, but to be honest, we have a lot of foreigners working in our country, and if they would just be going home, we would not have any food on our plate.
Fostered momentum.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem is like you can manipulate any situation to anyone's benefit, and that's why I think that when you have leaders that get large followers, it's almost like people get blindsided and they get sucked in, and we talk about this culture, this cult following. Yeah, that's what's happening, because it's like us against them, and then it's just like, oh my gosh.
To clear up any confusion, I am pro-government because I believe it's essential for a functioning society. However, I think the cult-like, tribal, and othering tactics many politicians use are harmful and create unnecessary division. Ultimately, we're the ones who give politicians the power, so it's our responsibility not to fuel those divisive behaviors.
Around you, that's one thing. The other thing what helps as well is vote for the good parties, and I think that's also.
And when these factors and influences, such as social media and government officials, work on society every day, it is very easy to lose
empathy.
And if empathy is lost, it will lead to the nasty side effects we see in society. All of this is making ordinary citizens ask how they can rewind the nasty side effects of division in society and instead promote the factors that will allow us to unite beyond our differences and reclaim empathy. Now, obviously, to start reclaiming empathy and unity, we have to start with ourselves. However, I go about this by choosing different news sources from different countries and from a wide spectrum in order to see and hear different opinions.
If the one media outlet that you're looking at primarily is giving you your little bubble of comfort, that's probably then you're probably not listening to enough media. You have to have the interaction between all the different views. You have to you don't have to like them, but you need to know that there is other opinions out there. And that's not only.
Also man sollte eine verschiedene.
So, you should have a variety of media outlets?
Aussuchen, ja. Okay, danke.
Yes, and then, after you've done that, form your own opinions.
As similar to when you invest, you want to make sure you have a diverse basket of investments. You want to have a diverse source of information, because only when you're able to vet or contest or challenge information, you can only do that if you're checking your, various sources. And I think that's really important. So I just think people need to make sure that they're getting a well-balanced source of information.
Things, right? So if some media serves you one easy answer, probably you should go deeper.
Yeah, well, I think a lot you can do on an individual basis. One is make sure you get the information from good sources. So it's of course all information is biased from whatever newspaper you have or a news you watch on the television or internet sources. But make sure you get it from different angles. That helps already because that helps to make your own story. What's happening around you?
Study after study has shown that when an individual receives their information from multiple sources, they are more likely to have less divisive attitudes towards certain topics and are more willing to work through communication towards compromise on complex issues. Conversation. In the end, again, it's all about talking. If I have one opinion and you have a different one, I have to try to get to know your perspective first, and then, of course, maybe even learn to understand it, and that's the difficult part. When I see your perspective, I understand things completely differently.
But whenever I speak with them, we're all human people, so it's really not that big of a deal.
If you want to overcome that, I think communication is key in avoiding future conflict between individuals, between nations, between alliances, if you want so. Understanding is necessary about each other. I think that's what I wanted to say when talking about complex problems, right? Only if you communicate enough, only if you understand your counterparts' points of view, then you are able to build your own opinion. Well, you can still have a different opinion, though.
Yeah, I think so. That's normal. If you interact with people, you get. I mean, it's also we can agree to disagree, and so it's more that while you're interacting with people, you're like, I never looked at that topic from that direction or from that viewpoint or from that social background, and so now I see this and hear this, I'm like, okay, I still have another opinion, but I know where they come from, and so you have more empathy for them. And it helps if you meet them, in person, instead of staying in your own, room or town or city or country. So yeah.
And I really do think that empathy starts with an open mind, and an open mind also lends itself to someone that wants to be taught. And I think education.
And this communication should not be confrontational. Both sides should go in with an open mind. And both sides should feel safe.
Well, interaction first, of course, I think, but listen and ask questions. And if you feel safe, and that is very important, that you're in a safe environment, that you can ask these questions, and you will not only not be judged, but not be attacked, for your opinion. That helps a lot as well. So if you have a safe environment, so if you work with people and make them feel safe, you stress that out, it's okay to have a different opinion because it will not harm the work we're doing, right? And it's good to have that and share that opinion. I think that will help. So if people feel safe and they're open, they know if I say something, I will not be laughed at, or even worse, so that I think helps a lot as well. Yeah.
And then
on a personal level, actually, exchange, probably personal direct exchange is something that will keep us together.
Alport's contact theory, strongly supported by decades of research across cultures and contexts, argues that prejudice between social groups can be reduced when members from both sides interact with equal status, common goals, cooperation, and support from a mediator or social norms. When these conditions are met, contact fosters empathy, trust, and ultimately reduces discrimination and division.
And yeah, you want to be as decent and polite to each other as you want to. Well, as we are talking, right? You don't want to be bullied the same way I don't want to be bullied, right?
But also in micro scale, you know, if you have foreigners close to you or working maybe at your place, or people with another skin color or another belief, or you know, just do what you want them to do to you, you know, and so just treat them as equal, and that helps. So you can really do it from micro scale, and although it's only you, it will help. And especially if you have coworkers, they're like, okay, you know, or you have children, they look at, oh, this is how my mom and dad react to foreigners or people with other beliefs, so we should do as well. So I think you can do that as well, lead by example, right?
So thank you.
It takes a community to raise children, and children are taught by role models, obviously their parents, if they practice a religion, their spiritual leaders, etc. But it is definitely something that is taught, and it is something that needs to be exercised.
That's a good question. The most amount of hope, probably the need and then the insight in the end that we all eventually will come to, that compromise is a good thing first. Secondly, that we have to come together as people, as societies, to deal with the problems we are facing as a whole mankind, as whole of mankind. And this is a big word that's full of pathos. But still, I mean, it's what it is. Otherwise, we just run into conflicts that nobody of us wants to have, and we've seen enough of that in the past. And well, that's my hope, I guess.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and have a good one.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up The Miller Take, a documentary where we explore and try to answer how ordinary citizens can reclaim empathy and thus unity in a world that creates and magnifies division. Throughout the documentary, I tried my best to take my own advice of using a wide array of sources, while interviewing numerous individuals from different countries, walks of life, religions, backgrounds, ethnicities, etc., in order to formulate my own conclusions after hearing different perspectives, stories, and views. I encourage you to do the same. So, while I do encourage you to take the advice and information in this documentary, I also highly encourage you to look at other sources, similar and different to mine, so that you can understand other perspectives on the matter. Because it is only once we understand each other, and only once we put ourselves in each other's shoes, when we can move past our differences, reach compromises, and have productive, respectful discussions, even if we don't see eye to eye on everything. Thank you. This has been The Miller Take.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.